Okay, we back again. Channel 18, Washington Park 16 in softball. Today, we have with us Cecilia Butler, Washington Park's president of the Advisory Council at Washington Park. Today, we're going to talk about what the Washington Park Advisory Council does and how this tournament was brought together and how this park keeps guys out of trouble in this neighborhood and in other neighborhoods around Chicago. First question is to you. Let's talk about this stone down here.
Right.
What is this stone about?
Well, this stone is dedicated to Mr. James Melton, who was the first supervisor in Washington Park who brought 16-inch softball to our great park and all the teams. One of the most important things is that during the reign of the great Mayor Harold Washington in 1986, there was an article in the paper that said that the Chicago Park District was sued because of unfair practices. And there was a consent decree that said that there must be citizen participation. Well, I read that paper and I immediately came down to Washington Park because as a child I went to day camp. I had my fondest memories as a child here in this park. So the person I met was Mr. James Melton, the supervisor, and I asked him about advisory council. He said, we don't necessarily have an advisory council, but we have coaches and umpires who dedicate their time and energy into the park. So we formed at that time an advisory council. Mr. Pete Dawkins was the president. He was the president for about 6 years, and eventually I was elected, and that was roughly around 1992, and I've been the president ever since. And I'm a proud president. I love my park. I love the people that use the park, and our softball league is one of the strongest leagues. In fact, it's not only a strong league, it's a winning league. They have won national tournaments. So with that, we, with the help of William Hill, Dub Hill, who's been with us from the very beginning, from that very first meeting to the meeting that we had last month. Dub has been with us, and this is why we are a strong advisory council, because of his participation. Well, under the Field of Dreams process, Washington Park was designated in 2012, and this is where we dedicated a stone in his honor, which eventually we will have writings on the stone, but it's a beautiful dedication to someone who we feel dedicated his time and life to the parks. This is our fourth dedication. This is the first Saturday of June. We've been dedicating a tournament, softball tournament, in honor of Mr. Melton, and this is the fourth year. So we are extremely proud of our softball leagues, which, like Carlos has stated, there's no trouble. And this is what Dub has constantly reminding us, that there's no shooting out here. In fact, if you as a family need something to do on Saturdays, Sundays, and even a midweek, you can come out to Washington Park and enjoy a safe, active environment. And that's what we do. As an advisory council, we promote our parks. Washington Park is a great park. It's a park that we can definitely and are definitely proud of. We have a camera club that has been active since the early 50s. We have an archery team that have been practicing in Washington Park. They even have a little office on the east boundary. It's about 57th, right south of DuSable Museum. That archery league has been in place since the turn of the century, and I'm not talking 2000, I'm talking 1900s. It was around in 1890s. Don't forget, Washington Park not only has a history, but our history is even deeper than most people even realize. There's something going on in our park every day. So with that, Carlos, give me a question because I can go on forever.
Well, my question would be to you, what does the Washington Park Advisory Council do for Washington Park?
Right. Our purpose is to let the Park District know of any problems that we encounter within the park or any suggestions. Now, what we do and what we need is more people, because our park is one of the largest and the most used on the south side. There's certain areas that we need support in. Dub and I, we go before the commissioners, and I tend to go before the Park District commissioners at least 9 months out of a year. They meet every month, just like every other government entity within the city of Chicago, like the Board of Education, the CTA. They meet, and that's where citizens have the opportunity to let the people that run operations know how they feel. And that's what we do. We support our park, we sell our park, and we are constantly trying to get people to come and support the advisory council. And every park, every building is entitled to a park advisory council. That means if your park, your local park doesn't have one, create one. Go to the park supervisor and create a park advisory council, because this is where America really operates, and people, the citizens, have a chance to tell their position.
Okay. In closing, before I get to this championship game of the Field of Dreams, would you like to say anything else?
Thanks, Dub. Dub has been a stalwart. Mr. Melton was a stalwart. In fact, without Mr. Melton, we wouldn't have a strong advisory council, because everybody doesn't support citizen participation, but he did. And that's why we are still here 30 plus years later.
Okay. And in closing, I would like to thank Miss Cecilia for keeping me out of trouble personally. Keeping me out of trouble and keeping us doing what we're doing best, playing softball and staying positive in the community.
That's right.
I'm going to get down here to this championship game and try to bring you guys this championship game. I'll bring you back to Miss Cecilia, hopefully later on this year, if I can get her back out here to do another interview, to elaborate more on Washington Park and the things that's going on in Washington Park besides softball, because there's many things going on here besides softball. Softball is just one of the biggest things going on, but we have many other things going on here that you can bring your kids to, your kids can get into at a young age, maybe starting at 2 or 3 years old, that can keep them from the streets. So we will get back to her at a later date. Right now, I'm going to get to this championship game that has already started, but I'll bring it to you now.
Thank you.